Could we gather everyone? Is this on? If we could gather everyone.
Come on, we're going to start the program
now. It's being live streamed. Hello. It's being live streamed. So there are folks out in wherever wishing they were here having fun with us. But I just want to thank all of you who did come today. It has been an incredible week. I cannot tell you how much I have learned and how much I have enjoyed the experience. Electric vehicles are the future, but they're also the present, and we need to make sure that there are ways to make that more accessible to everyone. Infrastructure, first and foremost. I have become the poster child for range anxiety. But it is really, really fun, and I want to thank our board. We have several board members here, quite a few actually. First and foremost, Scott Miller, who was the chair, the lead of this working group that put this event together. Dale Arnold, our board president, who will be speaking in a little bit. Bob McAllister from down in Lawrence County. Craig Foster, who's our treasurer. I haven't told him yet how much this cost. Yes. And Chris Meyer, who is a former board president. I don't know if I'm missing anyone. Who? Oh, Sherry Hubbard. Yes, I'm sorry, Sherry Hubbard is on our board. A lot of our partners are here tonight. Pat Valente from the Ohio Fuel Cell Coalition. They were a great partner. Our partners in the various regions, Tim Benford, who is an amazing organizer. It was pouring rain, and there were 60 people outside looking at cars. It was amazing. It was great. Gary Heaton, whom I call my EV whisperer, because I call him at least 5 times a day and what am I going to do with this? So he has been amazingly helpful to me in my first experience with an electric vehicle. Who else am I missing? I hate the thought that Mariah, who put together today's great events in Columbus, at OSU, and Yellow Cab. Yellow Cab is a great story. If you haven't seen that, be sure and watch that when it's up on video, because it was a really impressive story. So thank you. Green Energy Ohio is, who else am I missing? Oh, well, okay, Sam and we're doing this. Maureen McConnell, who served on our working group with Clean Fuels Ohio, arranged for so much administrative support with our registration systems that we desperately needed. Thank you. And then Sam, of course, will be speaking in a bit. Now, have I forgotten anyone? My staff, Franny, Emerson, I don't know. Everybody here has contributed to what we are doing, and that's just great for me. Green Energy Ohio has a mission, and our mission is to promote renewable energy, to promote the various opportunities that people have for a diverse set of energy sources: wind, solar, geothermal, all of the above, fuel cells, hydrogen. There is so much out there, and we are on the brink of some real progress. And with EVs, the expansion, the growth in production and development and adoption, I said earlier, it's nothing short of miraculous. And to prove that point, of course, you may have read that the Pope is getting a new Pope-mobile, and it's going to be an all-electric Fisker Ocean. Absolutely. So there you go. I'm going to now, I could talk forever about this week, but I'm not going to. I'm going to introduce Alex Slaymaker, who has generously given us this gorgeous space for our event tonight. It's a perfect place to end the tour. And Alex, please come and welcome us.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Jane. My name's Alex Slaymaker. So nice to see so many friendly faces and meet some new folks. It's just so nice to have people back in the space. It's been over a year and a half. This is our first public event, and I just have to say it's very energizing. So thank you for coming out today. I lead sustainability initiatives at Smart Columbus, and you probably are kind of familiar with the organization. I won't talk too much today, but if you want to follow up with some conversations, we're always looking for different collaborative partnerships across the whole state, really. So definitely reach out if you're interested in electrification, decarbonization, digitalization, all of the really important kind of transformational shifts that are going on in our community, because we're dabbling in all of them and would love to partner with you. But with that, thank you so much for coming, and I think I'm going to pass it off to Howard. Howard, yep, with Drive Ohio.
Thank you, Alex, and thanks for putting on this great event. I am Howard Wood, Executive Director of Drive Ohio, and for those not familiar, that's all things connected, autonomous, shared, and electric, and both on the ground, as we see here today, and in the air, because advanced air mobility is becoming as much of a story as the things happening on the ground. If I had to predict the maturity of some of these technologies, I have to put electric vehicles probably ahead of the others. So this is a very exciting time. Drive Ohio last year published something of a statewide plan and report. It was a little bit of an education plan, but a little bit of a where can we fill the gaps in electric vehicle charging stations to reduce range anxiety. And as of today, I can say that we're working with the governor's office, and it's a little bit of a preview, but the governor and lieutenant governor have an ambition for Ohio to be #1 in electric vehicles. Very important to a state that's so dependent on vehicle manufacturing. #1 in engine manufacturing, #2 in transmission manufacturing. This is an economic development play for Ohio, and frankly, the governor and lieutenant governor expect to be in the forefront with the state, because it's an economic development and a jobs play as much as an environmental play. So very important for us. So I would just say in the next few months, you'll be seeing some announcements that state that Ohio is going to be #1 in manufacturing electric vehicles, We have a lot of development projects underway in manufacturing, in charging electric vehicles, and in selling electric vehicles. So that's just a little spice for the recipe for the future, and I'll stop at that. And I think I go to William now?
I'm going to come up and
I'm sorry.
thank you, first of all.
Yes.
Thank you so
Sure.
much. I think the importance of Drive Ohio, we can't do this alone. This is a team effort. This is going to take government. It's going to take the private sector, like AEP. It's going to take organizations like Clean Fuels Ohio and Green Energy Ohio. It's going to take everybody to make this happen. And we really appreciate the work that you have done at the Department of Transportation. You are a great partner in this, and I want to thank you. And now it is time for William Murdoch. There you are. I'm looking around. Executive Director of MORPC. You have 75 communities now, I believe.
75, that's right.
And this is another point that I have made repeatedly on the tour. The best things are being done at the local level. It is absolutely true that you have communities across the state, cities, counties, municipalities of all sizes are engaged in so much good work with sustainability and with electric vehicles, and we saw many of those. And I'm just happy to have you here today.
Well, thank you.
Thank
Glad
you.
to be here. Glad to be here. Well, hi, everybody, and thanks for allowing me to speak here at the end of your tour. And to your comments, it's going to take a lot of collaboration, a lot of rolling up the sleeves and working together, because even though we're going to be the #1 state in EV manufacturing, we got a whole lot of work to do at the local level. And when I look around and I see the faces in this room, people whose board my team serves on, people who serve on our board, people who are collaborators, there is momentum, there is excitement around this. And as somebody who Sherry knows, I've been driving an electric vehicle for years, to see it coming to this point where that might just be normal, isn't that exciting? Isn't that exciting? So, again, I'm William Murdoch with the Mid-Ohio Regional Planning Commission. Our friends call us MORPC. We do work with 75 local governments of all sizes across Central Ohio. So think the whole spectrum of local government: villages, counties, townships, big cities, small cities, rural, urban. A lot of them have done some really impressive work on this. All of them are interested in where this is going. And that's why our organization is deeply involved in this. If you know us, you know that we work on transportation, we work on sustainability, and electric vehicles are a core part of that strategy. Some of the work that we've done here locally has been just pure partnership. But being here at Smart Columbus is so exciting, not just because of their big announcements that are happening right now, but because they've been a leader and a friend and a collaborator as we've been pushing this locally. Some things that we've been doing as we sit here in Central Ohio, which is Ohio's fastest growing region. What that means is we got to build a whole lot of infrastructure. And what that means, we also have an opportunity to do it right and to incorporate sustainability and mobility and electric infrastructure in ways that maybe we couldn't before. And so we've adjusted some of our strategies. So we've got, I'm a planner, so I could tell you about metropolitan transportation plans and regional sustainability agendas and public policy agendas, and I'll stop there. There's a lot that's been already incorporated into the work that we do with our local governments. One of the things that we're most proud of is something we call our Smart Streets policy. And this means that every dollar we spend for transportation that flows through MORPC, so MORPC does a lot of the federal programming for transportation dollars, every dollar has to pause and contemplate digital connections, electric infrastructure, sustainability, and broadband connectivity. Like, think about that. Every time we do a road, we ask a project now to stop and think about that. Over time, that could really accelerate the deployment of the infrastructure that we're talking about. The last thing I'll say is there's significant movement in DC, discussions across the aisle talking about electric vehicle infrastructure, proposals of 500,000 chargers and those kind of things. What you're doing here right now is so important because we need that not just to happen, but we need to recognize what we need at the local level and the state level, and we need it to happen quickly. how can we be the #1 manufacturer of electric vehicles if we don't have the resources and we don't have that momentum from DC pushing us? And so thank you for doing your statewide tour. Thank you for ending it here in Columbus at the Smart Columbus Center. A lot more work to do, and we're here with you. So thanks again for having me.
You know, it is amazing. Green Energy Ohio, and I'm sure most of you know, did for many years, actually I think almost 17 years, a solar tour. And to me, electric vehicles are the solar panels of 2021. Because when we started doing solar tours, you didn't see them on every street. And there wasn't as much information available if you wanted to consider them. So now today, solar panels are everywhere, and that's wonderful, and we're not going to stop promoting them and showcasing them, but electric vehicles are on the cutting edge, and so we need to keep that going. I am now going to introduce Sam Spofforth. I always mess up his name. Spofforth. I did, Spofforth. Sam, I have known Sam for a very long time. And we have worked together in other capacities. We all kind of circulate through previous lives, but he is a great, great partner to Green Energy Ohio. And really, when we first started thinking about this, we were like, well, is this sort of stepping on Clean Fuels Ohio's toes if we do this tour? And then we're like, no, they're going to be with us every step of the way, every mile. And they were. And for that, I am very, very grateful. So please come. Thank you.
Well, first, Jane, I'd just like to thank you and your entire team for being so gracious and reaching out to us and for collaborating. I mean, as you said, it's going to take all of us. It's going to take more than all of us here to really accomplish the goals that we need to accomplish. And so we really appreciate you stepping in to the electric vehicle space and providing this leadership also. And I'd also like to just make a few remarks. I mean, I guess we're just recovering from a pandemic, or we're still in the process of recovering from a pandemic. This is the first kind of networking event, fun reception. I can't tell you how good it feels to be here. But if the pandemic, one of the many things that it taught us was that that we have disproportionate impacts from transportation pollution in our community. There's so some of us are facing a lot greater health impacts, and we've seen those health impacts really come to mind here through the pandemic. But we also, know, through the GEO tour and otherwise that electric vehicles are really a big part of the solution there. And, there are other things that we work on as well. I think, electric, other forms of sustainable transportation that our organization works on, biofuels, natural gas, et cetera. It's going to take all these things, but electric vehicles are really an important part of the solution. It's important to provide mobility access, clean mobility access to the entire community, to the entire state, and that means urban communities, it means rural communities, and again, a lot of what you featured on the tour. So it means also that we need to focus on policy, and so I was really so glad to see that is something that you're explicitly with this tour really trying to leverage. And we need policy at all levels. First of all, we need it at the local level, and we're talking about, we want to, Bill, we want to work with all 75 of your communities and have them look at building codes. Make sure that we have the make-ready wiring to electrify parking lots, parking spaces that are in all new and significantly renovated buildings, and so that's a focus. Streamline permitting processes for EV charging infrastructure. A little bit convoluted right now, but there's some good models out there about how we can streamline local permitting process. And then finally, doing community-based transportation electrification planning. And of course, that means looking at where we should, where we need EV charging infrastructure, how we're going to get there, what kind of financing structures that we're going to be able to use. But it means really, in whatever way, providing access for everybody to clean mobility. But we also need policy at the state level, and that means incentives to purchase electric vehicles, whether you're a consumer or whether you're a commercial fleet. And it means investments in infrastructure, just like we've been talking about. And it also means a focus on jobs. It means a focus on workforce development. It means a focus on retooling manufacturing. And so we've got great companies in Ohio that manufacture engines and transmissions. As we continue on with increased market adoption of EVs, so some of those components are going to be needed less and less. And so we have to help manufacturing transition, especially in a place like Ohio where auto manufacturing is so very important. And then we need also planning at the state level, and Howard spoke about that. And then, of course, at the federal level, we need investments. And then that's, again, to William's point, that's what we're in the process of focusing on. So, again, thanks again, Jane. Really, really appreciate the collaboration. Look forward to working with you. Thanks.
It's one of the things that Sam mentioned was companies that take advantage of this new technology. And when we were in Worcester, we visited Scheffler. Now they're a company that's been in business for decades, and they made transmission parts. And they saw an opening. They're a German company. They have a huge facility in Worcester, 2,000 employees. But they saw an opportunity to transition, to pivot to electric vehicles. And you see this happening where companies that have been in business for a very long time, it's not just the startups and the entrepreneurs, it's the established corporations that are finding ways to take their product into these new markets. And that's so important, I think. So we saw everything. We saw buses. In SARTA, we saw the fuel cell buses. We saw buses at Lake Tran. Sam mentioned public transportation. It's not just these beautiful cars out here. It's also public transportation. We saw a Harley, fully electric Livewire. We saw electric bicycles. We saw every possible form of transportation being powered by electricity. And I think that was very fun. Car share, the fact that there are apartment complexes and nonprofit organizations that provide cars so that their clients can get to a job interview or a doctor's appointment. Increasing mobility, as you said, across it. This isn't just for those who can afford an electric vehicle. This is for everyone to improve our access to mobility. And I think that's very important to keep in mind. With that, I am going to introduce Dale or Scott. Dale? Okay, Dale's next. Our fearless leader.
Good afternoon. Really appreciate you coming. It's amazing the number of folks, basically, I've had the opportunity to work with in this room in various leadership capacities with several organizations. I'm so glad you're here. When we talk about energy generation, transmission, distribution, logistics, technology, transportation, we are in the largest period of transition that we have ever seen. This is bigger than when electricity started coming out and you started seeing other emerging technologies in the 1920s and 30s. It's absolutely, positively huge. Said I've worked with a lot of you on a lot of those particular aspects. I remember when I was young and starting with my job with the Ohio Farm Bureau about 36 years ago, I was asked to talk to a group of executives, tell them of our goal and vision. I called it a diversified energy portfolio. Several of them in the room said, "You are crazy. That will never happen." 30-some years later, they're crazy because it did. And you're living proof with regard to that. I really appreciate working with all of you with regard to that. I appreciate working with Jane and the tour, Sam and others basically in the room with the public utilities, public policy, a number of particular things. It's interesting, a few years ago we had this bill called SB 232 where we talked about the Advanced Energy Initiative for Ohio. And again, there was a group of people said, "You're crazy, that will never happen." Well, guess what? It did. They also said this, several of us in this community said, "We can celebrate, bring out the champagne, we have a victory." And I said, no, the fight is just starting. And this is what we need to do over the next several years. And many of you in this room have been part of that. Energy generation, transmission, distribution, technology, logistics. Another important part of that is the social with regard to it. I really appreciate Jane and Green Energy Ohio with the tour because you've brought a very important part of this process, the social, public acceptance, education and outreach, letting people know, see, and get accustomed of what basically is coming down the pike. That is so important. Because I'm going to tell you this. We do have some folks basically that we're trying to work with. If you want to make energy development a popularity contest, we'll all be sitting in the cold and in the dark very quickly. That cannot happen either. I look forward with working with many of you. I really appreciate Jane's work. What you've done with regard to helping people in that social aspect of this energy development process is absolutely positively huge, and I look forward with working with you again. Thank you, Jane, and back to you.
As I'm sure most of you know, Dale is with the Ohio Farm Bureau, and if you haven't seen his presentation, he spoke in Worcester the other evening about electrification of farm vehicles. And you think about the number of vehicles that are used on a farm, big, little, and things I had never thought about. Like once they go out in a field, sometimes they stay there for 2 weeks, and how are you going to recharge them? And drones, and I encourage you, we are going to be posting all of our videos from our various sessions on our website. I encourage you to listen to that because agriculture is the largest single industry in Ohio, and it is also a very heavy consumer of fossil fuels, and it has a very important role to play in vehicle electrification. So please watch his presentation. We will end with Scott Miller. Yes, we will end with Scott Miller. Please.
Stay right here. Okay. So I really don't have anything to say that hasn't been said already tonight. I just want to thank you all for coming out. It has been a pleasure working with all of you. When we conceived of this 6 or 7 months ago, we couldn't have imagined that it would be what it turned out to be. 21 events in 5 days around the state of Ohio, connected by electric vehicles. We all got there by electric vehicles. So again, teamwork, community, workforce development, manufacturing, education, workforce training. It all goes. It's not a single silo. It is all integrated. And we need to figure out a way to continue to make it integrated, and we need to do it for everybody, rural, urban, rich, poor. This is not something for wealthy individuals to do. This is something for all Ohioans and all Americans to take advantage of. So I want to thank you all for coming out. And with that,
I want to give one shout out to our videographers. Oh. They have been with us all week, and they've done some live streaming. They've done a lot of recording. We will have such a wonderful store of material that all of you are welcome to use in your presentations, in your work. We will gladly share it to get the word out. So thank you for your work. We're done.
With that, enjoy your weekends. Thank you so much. Take care.
Take food.
Yeah, take food.
Take food.